I play Lord Darnley. He is a Stuart, just like Mary.
What about you, Joe?
I play Mary.
Yeah, I play Mary.
Mary is our foe. We must never bow to her as we bow before you.
You have the boldness to doubt my judgment.
She is only your queen if I should not produce an heir.
What is it like to have a man?
They are men in a world, obviously in a very heavily man's world, but that is at that point in time headed by two women. That for me was interesting to play as a man in that time. I mean, Elizabeth was an extraordinary ruler and leader, but Mary came into a country where they'd had a king, a male king for, I mean, I don't know, something like 200 years at least, probably way more than that. So I think that alone, that fact alone, was really interesting. To get to play these men could definitely have just been archetypal, kind of like vaulting over walls and looking dashing and stuff. But their very existence, they felt, was being questioned. Darnley in particular, Darnley's sole purpose in the end, I think, in the film, is to produce an heir. And that was rare for men of the time. It was always women that was expected of. He was insecure before he was put in a position of insecurity, where he demanded to be known as king and didn't want to just be the Queen's husband. He was an insecure person from the beginning, I think.
Dudley, I suppose, was an outsider compared to the other men in the sense that the other men seemed to be operating with an agenda of politics and power and something that they want for themselves. And he was, at least in this version of it, slightly more pure in that his actions come out of love and loyalty for Elizabeth, so, and a willingness to even sacrifice himself for her and be sent up north to potentially marry Mary.
I didn't do anything with Margot, spent most of my time with Serge. She's incredible. She's just an incredible actor. She's unbelievably gifted and has her feet on the ground as well, from only being 24 years old. And she was, I've said it before, she was an amazing leader on set. We were all just led by her. She's extraordinary.
My bits were mainly with Margot, but I crossed over with Saoirse as well in one scene and also in the rehearsal process. But yeah, they're both have their feet firmly on the ground, which is something really nice and refreshing to see.
And that's what's so fitting about playing someone like Mary, and the same with Margot playing Elizabeth. Like these characters from history were that age. I mean, even younger than the actresses that are playing them. You really do need to be formidable, I think. I was going to say like the idea of a leading man has changed. I don't think it really has. I think there is still the leading manny that everybody wants, that's sort of stoic and has all the right answers all the time. But I think Joe and I are very lucky to be in the category, the very, very privileged category, where there are plenty parts written for people like Joe and I. And I think our job isn't difficult in that sense, in that there is a plethora of characters, of guys written for sort of tall white men. So it's, we're in a very fortunate position, and which is a sad thing, obviously, at the same time. Darnley in particular, that's what I loved about him. To play him was that he's quite useless a lot of the time. And I think that's always more fun to explore. Rather than this sort of want and desire to sort of always look like you know what you're doing. I quite like that moment, that area where you don't know what you're doing. It's quite nice, and it's right that more and more men are shown like that, and not shown to always be the ones that have the answers, because they just aren't either. I think you and me should do Men in Tights, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Another Robin Hood.
Yeah, man. But the Men in Tights one.
Yeah, we need another Robin Hood.
For sure.
Right,
Every
let's do
year
it.
should just be a new Robin Hood.
Why not?
Let's do it.